Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Joel Beya here, and today I'm back with 5 transfer updates. I've got here the one, the only, Mr. David Ornstein. How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Joel. Thanks for having me. A pleasure to be on for the first time.
Honestly, man, look, we really want to make sure that we're doing stuff with you for 5 as the season goes on, but it's a good one. You know, for those who might not know who you are, David, can you please quickly tell them about yourself? Do not be modest because you are a big deal.
No, not at all. I'm just one of a number of top reporters. I don't know if I'm top. That's a decision I'll leave for you and the public. But
1.1 million followers on Twitter. Let me throw it out there. It's extremely good with breaking news. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, so I do a lot of breaking news around transfers, around contract situations, around managerial changes, any sort of football news. And through my employer, which is The Athletic, I'm the football correspondent there. And then I do other bits for NBC and Sky and BBC. And now you guys too. So it's a varied sort of mix, and it's all good fun. Before I was at the BBC for 12 years and worked across sort of all sports, but now it's just focused on football. And what a time to be doing it, because there's so much to talk about.
Exactly, guys, please make sure you check out his socials in the description. I know we're very happy, myself and the 5 team, and of course Rio's happy having you on as well. Okay, so let's get to it. Look, I got the shirt, man. I'm ready. I don't care how they feel. You know, I've come here with an agenda. This video, it's Arsenal based, Arsenal led. But even if you're not an Arsenal fan, please stay tuned and enjoy the video. All right, David, Gabriel Jesus, they've been teasing me with this, man. What is going on? When's the official announcement for Arsenal? Or will Tottenham come and just hijack the move? What's going on?
Well, there's not going to be an official announcement until at least an agreement has been reached between Manchester City and another club, and that hasn't happened yet. Of course, Arsenal have made him their priority signing. That's been well documented, and they are keen to get this closed out quickly. But there is no agreement with Manchester City yet, and that's obviously the key thing in this. So while there's progress on the player side and the agent side, and they've been in conversations with his representatives for a while, and I think, you know, it should be fine on the player terms, they've got to get to Manchester City's valuation, which is said to be around £50 million. And obviously with a player who's only got a year to go on his contract, Arsenal are going to try and get him for a lower fee. But I don't think City are going to budge much. They don't need to. They don't really need the money. They could, if they wanted to, let him run down into his final year and leave as a free agent, or try and negotiate a new contract with him. So the onus is on the clubs that want him. And I think Arsenal are at the head of that queue. You speak to so many people who do expect this to happen as a matter of sort of when rather than if, but there is interest from elsewhere. So it could be a case of if you snooze, you lose, because Chelsea are keen on Gabriel Jesus. Thomas Tuchel, their head coach, likes him a lot, and that's also been well documented. I've seen the Tottenham reports as well. I think he has been considered or offered. I don't know which, but I'm not aware of that actively proceeding. Of course, they're not looking for a central striker this summer, Tottenham, because they got Harry Kane in that position. So what they are looking for is more of a wide forward. And we've reported on links with Richarlison, for example. I'm not sure Gabriel Jesus would want to come in as a wide forward. He'd want to come in as the central striker. Maybe he could do that as Romelu Lukaku's replacement at Chelsea, remains to be seen. But certainly he can do that at Arsenal. It's a bit of a glove fit for them. They want him. He seems open to the move. They've got the position available now. So I think it's just about being patient and see how these coming days pan out. There's been a lot of premature reporting so far, but clearly it's not far off. It's just not there yet.
Hopefully I haven't gone too far getting Jesus at the back of my new Arsenal shirt. I'm going to ask you for your footballing opinion. We all know what your journalistic view is and your research is, but your footballing opinion. I think he's fantastic. Sometimes I worry about how prolific he's going to be with Arsenal because, for example, I was having an argument with Jake Mallon, who you know pretty well, and he was saying that he thinks he's going to be like scoring a lot of goals at Arsenal. I'm not really sure because, you know, if you're playing at Man City, and I didn't think he was that prolific. I think he had like a block of games where he scored loads of goals and it improved these stats. I don't, if you're not getting that many goals at City, besides probably his first season in 2017, 2018, I don't see him being a 20, 25 a goal striker. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, this is more sort of the area of expertise for you guys than me, because I'm better at getting the stories and actually sort of explaining the ins and outs of the players. But I am a big fan of his, and I do think that under Pep Guardiola, he's become a fine elite striker. But yeah, the goal ratio hasn't been as good as many other leading marksmen around Europe, and some may be concerned by that. But he'd be a vast upgrade on what Arsenal had before. Obviously, Alexandre Lacazette has moved on to Lyon as a free agent. Eddie Nketiah has signed a new contract, but he's played relatively few games, especially as a starter. It was only towards the end of the season that he got that opportunity. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang had gone in January. So Arsenal didn't really have anything, and that makes this a significant upgrade if it happens. And I think the likes of Chelsea being in for him as well suggests how highly he's regarded within the game. I think it's also largely about what Mikel Arteta, in the case of Arsenal, would like to do with him and what he sees in him, how he identifies him fitting into the system. And I think they're all in on him at Arsenal. There are no doubts. He's the sort of player that Arteta is looking for, who can score goals. He can come short and connect the play. He can pull wide as well, because he's had that experience of playing as more of a winger. So that's exactly the profile of striker that Arteta's been looking for. You could say it's a younger, slightly more productive version of Alexandre Lacazette. He's certainly a little bit more mobile. He's got a better age profile, etc. So I think it's not so much about what he's done to this point, but what he could do going forward. And obviously, he knows Arteta from Manchester City. He'll know Edu, I guess, through the Brazilian connection. And I think it's more a case of how he fits into Arsenal than what he's done before. And also, if you look around Europe, there are not many number 9s in the sort of price bracket that an Arsenal could afford, who also want to come to them, who have got much more prolific records. And some of the strikers that Arsenal have been linked with, you'd probably say Gabriel Jesus is the one that you should go for. And I'm not the statistician. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it would be a really good thing for Arsenal. And you've also got to look around the players that Arteta's looking to support Gabriel Jesus with as well. I think that's crucial, because that may replicate in a sort of mini way what Manchester City have done. So when you see the likes of Fabio Vieira signing from Porto, you've got Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, Martin Odegaard in there. There's admiration for Youri Tielemans. There's admiration for Raphinha. So you could be seeing a very different picture in terms of the creativity that Arsenal maybe lacked a bit last season being significantly enhanced, the chance creation being enhanced. And what we did see at the end of last season with Gabriel Jesus is that when he's provided with opportunities, he does have the ability to hit the back of the net.
Speaking about the support that he might receive, I think Tielemans, for me, I really want this to go through, but I'm seeing from different sources, reliable sources, that we've called off the interest. I mean, for me, I'm a bit confused, because surely that's an area which we could do with, you know what I mean? Like, Tielemans, for me, really good player. He's done really well for Leicester. I'm hearing he might actually extend his contract at Leicester. Is this true or not? What's the deal over there?
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation, because Arsenal's interest in him is very well known. It goes back quite a way, and there's no doubt that the key decision makers at Arsenal, as I've reported previously, are pretty much all in on him. They want to explore a deal for him. They potentially would like to sign him, but it feels like a little bit more complicated, just in terms of the congestion of positions and order of signings that they seem to be going for. And I don't know this for a fact, but it doesn't seem that there's a massive market for him right now, as there perhaps has been in the past. So if Arsenal feel that they're the only ones maybe in for him at this point, or one of the few, and that they've got a good vibe from the representatives about the players' intentions, then perhaps this is one you see develop later in the window. If Arsenal have the finance, which is said to be around £25 million, can afford his salary, which might be a challenge as well, because he'd be looking, I presume, for a significant step up from Leicester, and Arsenal have bought their wage structure into quite tight control in recent times, and they've lowered it quite significantly. Although it will be uplifted, of course, if they get the likes of Gabriel Jesus, Tielemans, Raphinha, etc. I'm not aware of a new contract. I'm not disputing it or endorsing it. I just don't have.
You got to protect yourself, mate. Got to protect yourself.
No. I just don't have that information.
Yeah.
Is the honest truth. And what I do know is that Leicester, to do the business they want to do this summer, they need to raise some funds. And without doing so, they're pretty limited. And one of those who I think has been identified for potential sale is Youri Tielemans, perhaps the main revenue generator. In theory, he's only got a year to go in his contract. It hasn't until this point seemed that he's looking to sign a new deal. And so rather than losing him for free in a year's time, which of course is a possibility here, they would presumably like to cash in. And so maybe that puts clubs like Arsenal, suitors in a strong position. But we've got to see how it unfolds at Arsenal. Does somebody need to leave to make way? Can he come into the existing setup? There's some suggestion, is everything settled this summer on Xhaka? We seem to see a lot of reports around him pretty much every transfer window. I'm not aware of any suggestions of him going, but can Youri Tielemans come in with the existing personnel? And do Arsenal have the finances for the transfer fee and the salary in and amongst everything else that they're doing in the market? So I don't know of anything being imminent on this one. It does seem to have gone a little bit quieter, but that doesn't mean it won't develop in what's going to be a long summer. We're still relatively early in the market.
That moves me on to want to talk about Raphinha. I mean, this one's come out left field for me. When I heard it, I thought he would be like a lower priority type signing, because you're looking at the wings. You've still got Pepe there, as far as I know. You've still got Saka, obviously, in those main positions. You've got Martinelli on the left. I just didn't quite see how he would fit in, but it looks like we're going strong on him. I'm seeing 55, 60 million. How close are we for this actually happening? Good signing, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think the signing is close to happening. I saw some reports the day before we recorded this of him being on the verge of joining Arsenal, and to my knowledge, that's not the case. But the interest in him is clear and it's firm. That Mikel Arteta and a number of others at Arsenal really, really like Raphinha. Their admiration is not particularly fresh. It goes back a little way, and clearly he had an excellent first season in the Premier League. And so I think that's a player they would like to bring in. Another Brazilian connection with Edu as technical director, of course. Let's see if it's contingent on Nicolas Pepe's future, whether Pepe needs to leave for it to happen, or can Raphinha be bought in first and then Pepe leave afterwards. I think Arsenal are open to Pepe leaving if they get a reasonable price. And I'm not saying this is info, more assumption, 25 million, 30 million pounds maybe, which is obviously a loss on what they paid for him, but with the amortization and what he's done, it hasn't really worked out as planned at all as the club record signing. Then that might be a reasonable return if there's a market for him. And I think he would be open to moving on as well. But you don't know the exact chronology of that. And this is being a bit presumptuous because we don't know that Raphinha to Arsenal is going to happen. So as I understand it from speaking to sources around the game, Raphinha's preference is to join Barcelona. But it's clear that Barcelona's financial situation means the brakes have been put on a deal that seemed inevitable, whether or not Leeds were relegated. Now it's emerging that Leeds being relegated was going to make it much easier for Barcelona to do this deal. And in the event of them staying up, the price being higher, their financial issues, them needing to sell Frenkie de Jong to open up the funds to a certain extent, suggests that they might have to look for alternative solutions. Angel Di Maria is a player that Xavi likes. He's a free agent as well after leaving PSG. So that brings Raphinha back into the Premier League market, and there's admiration for him at Chelsea, and that's what I've been told on good authority. There's admiration for him at Arsenal. Tottenham have been mentioned as well. Again, not too dissimilar to Gabriel Jesus. I don't know if that was more offered or inquired. And now it's whether any club, including Barcelona, managed to strike a deal with Leeds. The figures you mentioned strike me as being a little bit high. That's what Leeds, I'm sure, would want, that sort of price range. And they would love to create a bidding war, no doubt, for one of their key players who I do think they would expect to depart this summer. But whether Arsenal will go to that extent, whether they be able to, whether the price will come down lower, what his choice will be on where he ends up going. The indications are he might be quite open to the Arsenal move. But equally, if it's at Chelsea, you might get Champions League football. But there's talk of maybe Tuchel preferring him as a wing back. Would he want to play there? Whereas Arsenal might put him in his favoured position. But what would that mean for Saka? This is a really sort of complicated one with moving parts. And I do think it's obviously going to be at the forefront of our minds in the days and maybe weeks ahead. I don't sense from my conversations that talks club to club with any club and Leeds are at a really advanced stage as we speak.
Guys, everyone watching, I want you guys to let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. Yes, we've got David Ornstein on, but we want to know what your thoughts are of the players that Arsenal are going, whether you think they're rubbish, whether you think they're good. If you know that there's a profile about this type of player that we're talking about, please let us know. For me, the last person I want to ask you about is actually one of our signings already, Vieira, not Patrick Vieira, not the one that you're thinking about, Fabio Vieira. Now, for me, again, this came out of nowhere. Did not know we were in for him. I've heard his name flying around here and there just because, they won the Portuguese League. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not really watching him. I'm hearing after asking a few questions that he's a bit of a Bernardo Silva type player. I mean, I don't know if they were saying that to appease me, but I just want to know a little bit more about him besides YouTube videos. Do you know his playing style? What type of a player are we getting here?
Yeah, I'd only seen bits and bobs of him before this situation came about, which was out of the blue, and fair play to Arsenal for a bit of a under the radar operation. And since then, spoken to a lot of people who have described him in really positive terms as being this versatile attacker, the sort that you would see Arteta liking to bring in, like Manchester City might like to bring in as well. That sort of versatile attacker who can play across the front line in a Guardiola, in an Arteta system. I'm not comparing Guardiola and Arteta being like for like, but clearly they've worked together and they have quite similar mentalities. And Arsenal are now building this sort of attacking unit of quite versatile, nimble, technical, skillful players. And he seems to fit into that in the sense that he's quite slight, which bodes well from a technical point of view, but it also means that Arsenal acknowledge that he's going to need time to adapt to the rigors of the Premier League and build up some strength, etc. But his numbers are really good in terms of assists and creativity. He's been on the scene a relatively short time, 22 years old now, which is the age profile that Arsenal have been looking for. Can play in a variety of positions. He can operate as a false 9, as a number 10, as a bit of an 8. He can play from out wide. And I think that will really appeal to Arsenal as they sort of weigh up their options. They look for a bit more creativity that they were lacking last season. They have to consider Premier League, domestic cups and Europa League next season as well. So there'll be a lot more sort of selection dilemmas and Arteta wanting to sort of tinker and chop and change. And so Vieira will fit into that. And yeah, a lot of people that you speak to who know a lot better than us have said that this is a really smart deal. The price feels reasonable for everything he seems to be bringing, and I think it's a pretty shrewd move that not many of us saw coming. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that unfolds, and it sounds like Arsenal fans are excited. I mean, just for the fact that they can adapt the Patrick Vieira song for Fabio Vieira, so it's a good start in that sense too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, just to wrap it up in regards to his accolades, 2 Primera Liga titles, Primera Liga midfielder of the month in April, young player of the month in January 2022, UEFA European Under-19 Championship team of the tournament 2019. So you know what? He's obviously a shining star and someone that is tipped for a good future. So hopefully Arsenal is that place for him.
And I was just going to say that Portugal seems a pretty happy hunting ground for Premier League clubs at the moment. We saw just this window with Liverpool bringing in Darwin Núñez. Prior to that, they to Luis Diaz as well. So even in different positions, the success of someone like Ruben Diaz at Manchester City, I've probably left loads of names off of there as well. Some players who have come to Wolves, for example, and George Mendes connection, which is something that Arsenal have tapped into with Fabio Vieira. But Portugal seems to be at the moment the go-to place for many Premier League clubs. And so if Vieira has the sort of impact that many of the others who have come from that league have had in the Premier League so far, then I think Arsenal fans can be excited.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, David Ornstein. You know what? Again, please, can you let the people know where they can find you?
Yes, so you can check out my work on The Athletic, of course, and also my Twitter, which is David_Ornstein, I think. Correct me if I've got that wrong. And then David Ornstein on Instagram as well. And always happy to interact and share whatever information I can. And thanks very much for following and enjoying programs like this. And thanks for asking me on.
Brilliant stuff. See you soon. Joel Beya, David Ornstein, signing out. Peace.